know, the Earth. This is, I'm gonna say Greenland. It's the ocean. What's up, friends? My name's Caleb, and I am glad you're here. Now, I'm not sure about you, but one of my favorite things, like ever, is going outside. There's so many cool things to do in nature that it's honestly hard to pick a favorite. Just look at all these things my friends love to do.
What's up, Caleb? My favorite thing to do in nature is to swim with dolphins. You don't believe me? You see that? You see that right there? The epicness.
You know what my favorite thing to do in nature is? Is going up on the mountain hiking. Watch this. Isn't that amazing? It is so breathtaking.
He's making a bonfire with my friends.
My favorite thing to do in nature is sit by the beach and watch the sunrise.
What I love to do in nature is hang out together with my family.
My favorite thing to do in nature is fly my drone. It's fun until you crash.
One of my favorite things to do in nature is go to the lake or the beach, and it's even better when there's a beach at the lake. Check this out.
My favorite thing to do in nature is to get somewhere with a view where I can see an entire city.
What's your favorite thing to do in nature? You got it? You think of it? It might be completely different from what all my friends said. I love how everyone has a different idea of what they like to do in nature. It actually turns out that nature is supposed to make us feel like that. There are scientific studies on how just looking at pictures of nature can help boost your mood and reduce stress. Ever fought with your best friend? Been stressed about your next test? Dealt with lots of issues at home? Boom! Just think about it. That huge night sky with bazillions of stars, the ocean, the smell of salt in the air, the sound of the waves crashing, the sight of sand in a really cool far-off desert, the greenery all around you in your neighborhood park, the highest, most majestic mountain you can find, the sun bright and warm on your face, the sounds of birds chirping during the spring, a gentle breeze hitting your skin. It may not make all your problems go away, but nature definitely has a way of making them feel smaller, even if just for a moment. That's because it's designed that way. Yo, God designed this big, beautiful world. God created it for us. And when we're responding to something we see in the world around us, we're really responding to God's masterpiece. I don't know about you, but I think that's pretty cool. And that also makes caring for God's creation something that matters in a big way. When we say that word, creation, we simply mean everything God made in the world around us. Creation includes all the things God made for us to live and thrive on this big, beautiful earth. The sun, the moon, the air, the water, the plants, the animals, all the amazing things that help us exist on this planet. Take a deep breath. The oxygen you just breathed in, God made it. When you took that breath, did you smell something? Maybe you smelled fresh cookie. That's exactly what I smelled. I'm sorry, if you don't get that excited about cookies, I can't help you. Chewy cookies are the only type of cookies that should ever exist, okay? Maybe you smelled a candle. That was entirely too close to my face. Okay, yo, God made those scents too. Okay, now place both of your feet on the ground and just stomp. Feel that earth underneath your toes. Or maybe there's some concrete and carpet between here and there, but somewhere under all of that is dirt, and God made it. Think about how it feels to be outside on a windy day, just that wind you feel when you're outside, guys, God made it all. Hear the birds outside? Guess what? God made them too. And do you know what else God made? Yep, you are also one of the many amazing parts of God's creation. See, when we talk about creation, we're talking about everything in the world that God made for us. So when we talk about caring for creation, that means we're talking about what we can do right now to care for the world God made for us. Maybe to you, this sounds like something that politicians or adults or celebrities or influencers care about. And if all of those people are talking about caring for creation, you think maybe you should be too. Maybe you've learned about it in science class, or you've worked on an environmental service project, or celebrated Earth Day at school. You might even be someone who just thinks a lot about the environment and how to care for creation. In fact, this might be your favorite thing that we've talked about here because you're so passionate about the things we can do to take care of the world around us. You're already doing some things to care for God's creation. Or maybe when it comes to caring for the world around us, you think, it is what it is. Whatever is gonna happen, and there's not much you can do about it. It's not that you don't care, it's just that you don't think there's much you can do to make a difference in what happens to the world around you. Maybe you're someone who, if you're really honest, just doesn't care about this at all. You've thought about this before, but you aren't all that interested. Maybe you think that creation is here for us to use however we want. Or maybe you haven't thought a lot about this at all. And if that's you, I get it. It's not a subject that comes to my mind all the time either. This might actually be the first time you're really hearing about it, so you've never had the chance to think about it. Or maybe you've just got bigger things to worry about. You've got big things happening in your family or your friend group or at school. You're just trying to get through your day. Remember your locker combination and pass math for the year. You have zero time to think about much else, and that makes sense. And maybe, if you're honest, you're also wondering if this whole caring for creation thing is something we should be talking about at church. Like, is this even a church thing? Well, if you've grown up going to church, you may have heard a lot about how God created the world, but you may not have heard a lot of church people talking about it beyond that. And if coming to church is new for you, or you're not really sure you even believe in God, this whole God created the world thing can be hard to wrap your brain around. Thinking about what that means for us may not even be on your mind. No matter what you've heard about caring for creation or where you stand on this whole faith thing, the reality is that it's a trending topic in our world. It comes up at school, on the news, in our social media feeds, and that makes it something we think is important to talk about here at church too. And more than that, I think it's actually something that God really cares about. And here's why. Remember how we talked about what we feel when we see or experience the cool parts of the world around us? That feeling is a response to the world God made. The thing about creation is that it points to a creator. When you look up at the stars and are amazed at how big the galaxy is, or when you hold your brand new baby cousin for the first time, or when you sit around a campfire and all your anxiety floats away for just a moment, or when you pet your dog and you just feel at peace. All those feelings, you feel those because something in you recognizes what God made. Everything we see in nature is pointing us to the creator who made it all. And because that creator cares about creation, we ought to care about creation too. To help us out here, let's look at some wise words from a really famous king. Now, his name was David, and he lived thousands of years ago. And what's cool about David is that before he was a king, he actually had a job that allowed him to spend a lot of time thinking about and even caring for creation. David was a shepherd, which meant he literally had to spend hours and hours and hours and hours outside. He used that time to do what shepherds do. Take care of sheep. He probably got up early with the sunrise, spent most of his day out in the fields with the sheep, and camped out near them under the beautiful night sky. In other words, David had a lot of time to experience the world God made around him. Now, after he became king, David wrote down a lot of prayers, thoughts, and even poems to reflect what he experienced and learned about God. These are called Psalms, and in one of the Psalms that David wrote, we find some things he learned to be true about creation. Here's what he wrote. The earth is the Lord's, and everything in it, the world, and all who live in it. For he founded it on the seas and established it on the waters. So right away, what David wrote helps us answer one of our really important questions about caring for creation. Why should we care about it? His answer? Because God made it. The fact that God made the earth and everything in it makes it all important to us. Every part of the world around us was made and formed by God. And that gives it value. That makes it good. And that's what makes it worth talking about and caring about here at church. When we look back at the way God made the world, we find example after example of everything God created. And not only that, but each and everything God made along the way is called good. Light, good. Land, good. Sea, good. Plants, good. Fruit trees, good. Sun, moon, stars, good. Fish, birds, sea creatures, good. Animals, good. People, good. Then to sum it all up, the creation story ends like this. God saw all that he had made and it was very good. Not just good, but very good. That's what God thinks of all creation. So when we see something in creation that we think is very good, it's because creation is. That's how God made it. And when we think of all creation that way, I think it changes something for us. What would you call very good in your own life right now? Go ahead, take a second, think about it. Maybe the house you live in, or the newest pair of shoes you just bought. Maybe your soccer team, or even your best friend. Whatever it is, when you think something is very good, you treat it that way. You take care of it because it has value to you. You think it's very good and you want it to stay that way. Well, the same is true with God's creation. All creation was made by a creator, and that creator sees it as valuable. We start to change the way we appreciate it. We might even change the way we treat it. We'd begin to treat creation like God created it. And that's actually the point. It's not just an idea that we should care about creation. It was part of God's plan from the beginning. Look back to the beginning of the story of creation with me. Ready? The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it. This was the first assignment from God to humans, to care for the world God created for them. Caring for creation was part of the plan for God's people from the beginning. You see, we were made for this. We were designed to care for this beautiful world that was given to us, to care for all the amazing and brilliant things that God created. We were made to treat creation like God created it. That might sound like a big job, being made to help take care of God's creation, being designed to treat creation like God created it. Like, how do we even do that? Well, there are a couple things I think we can do to start. First, enjoy what God created. Appreciate the world around you. See it as very good because it is. Maybe even let it be a part of the way you connect with or get to know God. Now, enjoying creation doesn't mean you need to go on some epic hike or just like take a swim under a waterfall. For some of you, that may sound awesome, but for others of you, it just doesn't. And that's okay. There are plenty of things you can do to enjoy all God has created without having to go for a hike or spend a lot of time in nature. Maybe write down just one thing every day that you notice and appreciate in the world around you. Or find a spot somewhere outside to sit and listen quietly for 5 minutes to creation around you. Or ask a friend to go on a walk around your neighborhood or in a park. You could try a new fruit or vegetable at dinner, or watch a show about animals or nature with your family. Shark Week, anyone? Whatever you decide to do, take a step to notice and enjoy God's creation all around you. Next, respect what God created. Once you notice and appreciate all of God's creation around you, I think this step comes pretty easily, because then we'll respect what's in our world and treat it like it matters. This can look like so many things. Maybe for you, it means remembering that all parts of creation have a purpose, are important, and are part of God's plan. Maybe it means recognizing that animals and people were meant to be treated with respect, compassion, and love. Or maybe it means remembering that we have the power and responsibility to protect God's creation. When we respect what God created, we remember to place value not just on some parts of creation, but all parts, because God values it all. And finally, do something to treat creation like God created it. What small changes can you make on a daily basis to care about and take care of this world around you just a little bit more? Maybe you choose to use more reusable cups or straws, or maybe you pick up trash that you see outside or plant some new flowers in your yard. Maybe you join an environmental club at school or decide to learn more about how you can care for animals. Maybe you just decide to treat other people around you a little kinder because they're part of God's creation too. Whatever this looks like for you, make a commitment to being a small part of the big calling that we all have to treat creation like God created it. In your group, you'll have a chance to talk about all the ways you can enjoy and care for God's creation together. This whole caring for creation conversation can feel big, but the good news is we don't have to figure it out on our own. We can talk about and take steps to actually do it together with our groups. That's what I hope you'll do today. In the meantime, I'm gonna save these cookies for later and go experience some creation myself.